Okay, hello. Hello, everyone. Just wondering if everybody can hear me. I've probably played with the microphone 4 times, but it's that one time that you actually start that you're not sure if it's going to work or not. Okay, we're all good here. Okay, great. Well, I'm going to get started. Hi, everyone. I just want to say thanks for being here with me today. Today we're going to talk about onboarding because the reality is every business has an onboarding process, right? Whether it's intentional or just something that happens because, well, it kind of has to. Some of you may have it written out step by step, but others, your onboarding process probably lives entirely inside your head. I know I still have some processes that still live inside my head that I have to dump at some point. But the thought of onboarding a new client shouldn't give you so much anxiety because the truth is no clients, no business, right? And every client, no matter what you do, has to cross that awkward first date stage where they're figuring out how it's going to be when they work with you. So whether you're a bookkeeping firm, bringing in a new client, a law office, opening up a new matter for a client, a spa, welcoming someone for their first facial, or a general contractor, that first interaction, that's onboarding. And that's where they learn your process and your way of doing things, your expectations, and hopefully where they realize that you're not just completely winging it. So before we get into the nitty gritty of the onboarding itself, I just want to tell you a little bit about where I'm coming from. So, hi, I'm Joe. I know I'm turning red right now. I'm actually really not ever nervous about these things, but for some reason, I'm having a visceral reaction. So just bear with me. I'm not going to pass out, just having a day. I'm an online business manager and an operations manager, and I just want to get this out of the way early. I am not actually an accountant or a bookkeeper. My dad, however, is both, and he always hoped that I'd take over his client list one day. Obviously, as a kid, when your dad is telling you that you should become a bookkeeper, you're like, no, thanks. That does not sound fun to me. Sorry, I know that's probably going to be not a common thought, okay? But bookkeeping always looked painfully boring, and I couldn't understand why anybody would want to sit on the phone with CRA for that long. Like, take me to my basketball game, Dad. What are we doing here? But what I did end up loving later on was fixing problems and making people, small business owners, actually, as it turns out, feel supported and understood. And over time, and after multiple clients, I started noticing a funny pattern. I actually started as a VA, but then became kind of more of an operational manager because I found that a lot of the clients that I had who were bookkeepers and accountants were coming from big firms or these big corporate roles, right? Where they had lots of other people helping them do their job. They wanted to quit those things to slow down and not do the 9-to-5 grind, which is great because this gives you a whole other perspective once you become a small business owner. However, I'm sure lots of people can agree here that it also blindsides you because once you become a small business owner, you now realize you are not only the accounting or bookkeeping department, you're actually now doing admin, HR, scheduling, marketing, payroll, literally all of the things. You're triaging inboxes, you're doing client management, you're chasing documents. Basically, you turn into an entire firm in one person overnight, and you realize that you're severely underprepared. I imagine that that's probably a lot of people are going to be like, yeah, that's me. Exactly. So many hats. And now you're working something like 24/7 instead of 9-to-5. Am I right? Give me a thumbs up if you're like, yeah. And understandably, I think that that's where most of the overwhelm for accountants, for new firm owners show up, is kind of starting it without having that realization first and not having a plan set up to do that. And I mean, yeah, hopefully you get to a point where you can hire help. to help you with all of that, not just the technical stuff, because that's what you're good at and that's what you want to do, but in the chaos that builds around building your firm. And we all know, I'm sure, that there's a lot of chaos. So my work focuses on designing clear and repeatable systems that reduce stress and actually give firm owners the breathing room in the meantime to help you grow and scale while you're waiting to make those, do that hiring. And onboarding, that's one of the most important pieces, in my opinion, because without clients, do you even have a business? And that's why I'd argue it's the core system for every small business owner, and it's the one that they should all master. I wish, as a small business owner myself, the first thing they would have told me was not to worry about my bookkeeping or my whatever, like any of the other stuff. It's first worry how you're going to properly onboard your first client, master that, build from that, because that was what caused me a lot of anxiety. Later, I figured out that I could, hey, hire a bookkeeper to help me fix that, but it's harder to hire somebody to help you specifically for onboarding when you're a small business owner. And once you nail onboarding, you can build every other workflow after that 1,000 times easier. So that's what we're tackling today, onboarding, the part where most of the chaos begins, the very start of the client relationship. Because let's be honest, chaotic isn't how anyone wants to start any relationship ever. So here's what we're doing today. This workshop is about learning to build an onboarding system that feels calm, organized, and consistent for you, your firm, and your clients. Mostly it's about the client experience today. I just want to talk about the details of why that's important, because your onboarding is the first step that sets those expectations, relationships, and sets your workflow rhythm. And we want the client, the new client, even your old clients, to be game to play your game. So here's how we'll break this down. We're going to talk about why onboarding matters so much to your business. We're going to talk about the basics of your onboarding framework so you can apply that to any other service in your firm. We're also going to talk about the core tools you can use to bring that framework to life. I know that this is going to be a hot topic, and I just want to make it clear here. I won't be talking about all the tools because tools are popping up every single second of every single day. There were probably a dozen that were created before I even finished this sentence, okay? They are coming at us at light speed. It's crazy. So I can't talk about all of them, but I'll talk about the base ones that we can use today that are relatively easy to learn. YouTube, the internet is free, everyone. So YouTube can teach you a lot of things. And then we're going to talk about how to identify your first automation step and how you can get started with your building your own process. And I skipped this one by accident. We're also going to talk about how using automation can actually still support your personal connection with your client if you want it to. Okay. I know some, I mean this in the kindest way possible. Some accounting or bookkeeping firm owners are just like, no, I do the job, bing, bang, done. That's fine. But for those who want that more personal touch, and if I'm being honest, I would want a more personal touch kind of accountant. That sounded bad. That's not what I meant. Somebody who has the personal connection, that's who I would pick. So I have a poll here that I'm going to share, and I want you guys to be honest for a second. How do new clients actually get started in your firm? So give me a second. I'm just going to go publish. Does everybody see the poll here? Does that make sense? That's my first time publishing a poll. So if somebody can just let me know that it worked. We're good? Okay, I think that worked. So I'm just going to leave this for a second here. Okay, and then, okay. So there's four options here. You follow the same steps every time. You have steps. They just happen to live in people's heads. It depends on the client, or you mostly wing it and hope for the best. Just want you to know there's no judgment here. Honestly, most firms fall somewhere between organized chaos, and we really should write this down someday. So I'll give you one more second to keep popping that in. Just remember that this is about figuring out where you're starting from, because once we know better, we do better, or we try anyways, right? Okay, I'm going to close this off here. Okay, so it depends on the client. That's fair. Also got a chunk for D. Honestly, we wing it, which that doesn't surprise me. Because if you answered truthfully, I'm going to assume that the reason most people are here today is because they answered with D. Honestly, we wing it most of the time, and that's okay. But if this is the case, for just a tiny little moment here, I want you to look into the metaphorical mirror and channel your inner Taylor Swift and repeat after me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me. Okay, I just want to double check here and just make it clear that I'm not here to tell you how to run your firm. That's literally not that's literally not my job. It's your practice, your clients, and your style are all your own. That's totally up to you. But what I do want to show you is how much lighter things can feel when onboarding is actually structured and properly documented. Because spoiler alert, most firms don't actually lack time. I know it feels like there's not enough hours in the day. I know that. I too feel that. And I'm pretty sure that this is not the same hours that we had in high school or in elementary school that felt like they lasted forever. I don't understand what happened. But the reality is it's not that you lack time, it's just that you lack workflows that are clear, repeatable, and visible for you and your whole team. So I get it. You're busy running a firm, serving clients, doing all the things. Where's the hat meme that we just had there, wearing all the hats? But you don't have time. And I know that what you're saying most of the time is that you don't have time to build all the processes. The thing is, you are building processes, no matter whether you write it down or not. It's just you have to get into the habit of writing them down. And if your onboarding system or any system in your firm only exists in your head, it's not actually a system. So I'm going to repeat that one more time. If your onboarding system or any other system in your firm lives in your head, that's not actually a system because no one else can use it but you. So that means it can't be repeated, and it most certainly, and more importantly, can't be delegated, which means it will continue to keep you in the center of everything. And I'm pretty sure that sucks. That's not what you want. It's not fun for anyone because then there's no defined structure. Your work becomes reactive instead of proactive. Your expectations are totally unclear and clients have no idea what the heck is going on. And you become overwhelmed anytime a new client wants to onboard. Like I said, you're wearing all the hats and doing all the things, and now your capacity is stretched completely thin. And that's why I feel like onboarding is a foundation that stabilizes all of that. Once you have it right from the start, everything that follows becomes a heck of a lot easier to manage and then build. So let's just look at why I'm making such a big deal about onboarding, okay? When you start with structure, this shows your clients that your process matters, that you know what you're doing, and that it's always in their best interest to follow your system, right? You have to remember that there's a chance that that client may have come from another accounting firm or another bookkeeping firm, and they did something differently. Your goal is to remind that client that, yeah, they may have done something differently. You obviously switched for a reason, so we're going to play my game. You have to come and play in my world. And it teaches them to follow your way of working, not the other way around. Yes. Is there not a slide? Oh. Is there not a slide on just the poll? Okay. Sorry. Stand by. I'll try to figure out how to do that. How do we change that, Jessica? Do we know how to do that? Sorry, everyone. This is my first time using this software. I wonder if I have to close the poll. Hide from stage. Oh, that would have been a button that I would have had to press. I imagine it works now. Okay, great. Okay, so let's start back onto that. So starting with structured process from day one, it helps you build client confidence, right? Build client confidence in which sets the entire relationship with the new client. More importantly, if you guys went to Dawn Brolin's Q&A earlier, I was on it. She talked about boundaries in your business from the beginning. And boy, oh boy, it sounds like a lot of people need to learn about boundaries and how to set them. I know it's really hard for a lot of people, but spoiler alert, and I wanted to say this during Dawn's Q&A session, there is no such thing as an accounting emergency. Like, 99.9% of the time. I love accountants and bookkeepers, but none of you are doing brain surgery. Okay. So there is no such thing as an accounting emergency. I understand that clients can, the worst part about technology is that they have access to you all the time. That sucks. I get it. That's why you need to build the boundaries and you need to make it clear. So having a proper onboarding system also allows the client to look at you for guidance and feel comfortable. Listen, we're all human. Clients don't know what they don't know. And that's something that I cannot emphasize enough. Clients don't know what they don't know. There's a reason they hired you for either accounting, bookkeeping, whatever. Okay. They could be some of the smartest people in the world, but they don't know what they don't know. Just remember that. And whether you want to admit it or not, none of us like to feel like we're asking a stupid question, right? I like to ask that question. Like I like to ask stupid questions sometimes just to see how people react, but a lot of people don't. So ensuring that you can feel comfortable, ensuring that the client feels comfortable to reach out and ask questions from the get-go is super, super important. I'm obviously not talking about a million questions because also I know that they can ask a lot of stupid questions. And you know how they say, there are no stupid questions. There are stupid questions. There are stupid questions because I put the answer to those stupid questions in the communications that I sent already, and you're asking me the question again. I don't understand this. However, ensuring that they can feel comfortable to reach out and ask questions is important. So we try to do that. It also helps you delegate and share some of the onboarding work to your staff when and if that time comes. That way it becomes repeatable and scalable. But onboarding isn't just one step. It's multiple steps happening at once. So consistency is what actually keeps it all manageable. Sorry, I just realized how much this is so difficult for people with ADHD because I'm trying to read the comments and then I'm trying to do this. Just so everybody knows, there's going to be a Q&A at the end and I'll be able to answer any questions you might have about it. But I can't do three things at once. So I have to finish this presentation and then we'll jump into Q&A. So no matter what kind of business you run, the reality is, like, if you're doing bookkeeping, law, coaching, like I said before, a spa, onboarding is not just one step. It's a mix of it's a mix of interconnected tasks that all have to work together. You have to get the client onboarded. To do that, you're already juggling intakes forms, scheduling kickoff calls, chasing down documents, keeping in touch with the clients to know where they're at, or they're reaching out to you to see if there's anything else that you need from them, or you're then trying to get past the 2-auth log that every app they use needs. And you're probably doing that all at once, which is crazy. Those steps often overlap. And when they're not clearly defined, things start to feel really messy and really unorganized. And that's when onboarding starts to feel heavier than it should. It's supposed to be easy. Clients are supposed to want to come on, less friction. Everything is planned out. They want to know that you know what the heck you're doing. So when you're repeating the same steps every time without a system, you have to carry that load, and that's not easy. So of course it looks a little different for everyone, and every firm has its own rhythm, tools, way of doing things. That's fine. That's what I like to call the gray area. Your gray area. So tax rules are black and white. If I know some people would argue that. I know my dad probably would, but again, another workshop for another day. And software follows logic, right? If you do this, then that. But your workflow, that's the human part. That's the part that you add to all of this. It's the part that's shaped by you, how you think, how your team works best, and how your clients move through your experience and your process. So that's why we start with your way of working, the rhythm that already exists in your firm. Like I said, whether you like to admit it or not, you have a process. If you have clients, you have onboarded them, that exists. And then we find the tools that are designed to fit around that, not the other way around. Because no matter how good the tools are, I hate to tell you this, they don't fix unclear processes. I know that that's going to be like a big womp for a lot of people here, but even after this day, if you go home, we're all home. If you go and write down just brain dump what the steps are, it takes you no time to copy that, pop it into something like ChatGPT and be like, build out a better onboarding system for me based on the steps that I'm already doing. Boom. So you can already build other things. Okay, that's another tool. Didn't even think to mention that one, but that's a good one as well. So once your way is defined, that's when we can start building the foundation around it and the structure that supports it instead of slowing you down. The reality is you already have some kind of system, like I mentioned, because you have clients. So they did get onboarded somehow, even if it did feel a little chaotic at the time. So what we're talking about here isn't about reinventing the wheel. We're just talking about what's already working for you and turning it into something consistent and repeatable. It is, of my opinion, and I'm sure some people might debate this, every new client in almost any business should move through the same basic setup, okay? An agreement has to get signed, information has to get collected, expectations are set, and system access of some sort is granted. Boom. I've seen too many accountants and bookkeepers, especially bookkeepers, I don't know why, but especially bookkeepers, burned by skipping some of these steps. I'm going to just say it out loud here. Not having an engagement letter signed or not getting payment prior to any work being done. And when you do that, when you start working without a signed engagement or payment for X project, and then that leaves you chasing documents for weeks and watching clients disappear without paying. And oftentimes, like, you haven't even onboarded that client, right? So you do all that effort for nothing. This base process becomes your foundation, the part that stays consistent every time, through every system, through every process. So you're not rebuilding it from scratch every time. You make sure you kind of have like a mini checklist. Okay, the contract is good, payment is good, they have this information, this is what they need from me, when they need it, when they need to get it from me. And then the last piece is system access granted. Okay, please don't overthink this. This is one of the main, think of the main things you need to get done for X service, like I just said, no matter who the client is or what service they need, write it down, just get it out of your brain. Then when you have that structure in place, it's easier to see where things actually need to adapt and change depending on the type of work. So once that base setup is defined, you only adjust the pieces that differ. What I'm talking about here is like bookkeeping versus tax work, or corporate client work versus sole prop client work, okay? Once you have the core framework and that base system stays the same for every client, the same steps, you do the same steps in the same order, the agreement gets signed, the information is collected. Now you change the layers on top, that the details that are specific to the type of work that you'll be doing for that client, okay? So maybe you send different welcome emails for a sole prop client than you would a corporate tax client. Or you might use a different form for like a different onboarding form for a bookkeeping client versus one that you would send for a personal tax client. Or a better example, I guess, would be you would send one version of a onboarding form for a client that's starting out that is up to date for monthly bookkeeping versus one that needs like 3 years cleanup. Okay. This way you're not reinventing your process every single time a client wants to work with you. You're just swapping out the small parts that need to be different. And in my opinion, Financial Sense is really great for that. You just have to learn to kind of play around in the system to figure out how to do that properly. So the structure doesn't change, only the details do. And like I said, in Financial Sense, they make it relatively easy to update all that. Remember, once you build it out once, you keep it. So if you build out one onboarding, you can always you can have that as your personal tax onboarding and then be like, okay, maybe I change this a little bit for sole prop onboarding. Okay, I like this structure. I'm going to build this out for my corporate onboarding, and so on and so forth. Okay. And that's what keeps your onboarding process scalable and consistent. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the foundation and the layers that sit on top of the foundation and what that workflow can actually look like. So now I have this framework. Now I know this framework might look different for everyone. Okay, that's normal. I realize that one thing I've come to realize is that accountants have their own ways. I thought this was going to be pretty like black or white, but boy, oh boy, do accountants and bookkeepers have their own ways. Like, we all kind of need the same thing, but you all want to get it in a different way. So now that you have this framework and you know what it might look like. The key is protecting your time, building consistency, and making things clear for your clients from day one. Okay. So first off, like I said, you want to get a signed engagement letter. Don't start gathering documents or doing work until the engagement letter is signed. That's also like a slash getting payment. Okay. So whether that looks like some type of administrative fee or some type of like retainer, just make sure that they are committed to you. Because that's the line between curiosity and commitment. And in my opinion, there's already enough unpaid babysitting or hand-holding labor in this industry that chasing clients who haven't actually committed should not be a part of this. So before they're even your client, you should not be babysitting or hand-holding. They should pay you to do that, okay? Next would be some type of onboarding questionnaire. This is where you can flip the process a bit. Send the onboarding questionnaire first. Once they complete it, you can have some automation set up where the engagement letter is sent for signing. That way, the client is the one putting in the initial effort. Once they sign that onboarding document, then the engagement letter is sent. If they ghost you after finishing the onboarding questionnaire and ghost you for the engagement letter signing, well, that's silly. Like, and you can put something that says something like, this is letting me know that you're interested in working together before getting the engagement letter. But again, that puts that on them. It's their time that they've eaten up, not yours. The most important part here is to try and capture all that important information at once and not throughout 5 scattered emails. I don't understand why people go back and forth here. I'm a work smarter, not harder type of girl. And I want to capture all that information all at once if I can. I also hate emails in my inbox, if I'm being honest. So like, I will be relentless in the pursuit of trying to capture all the appropriate information at once. This might mean that you're not that you're updating that onboarding form, no matter what type of service it's for, 50 times before you're like, yes, this is my final onboarding questionnaire. And that's okay. Every time, I guarantee you somebody's going to do, like for a long time anyways, somebody's going to miss something or a client is going to bring something up that you're going to be like, huh, I should add that to my onboarding questionnaire. So there might be an iteration of a final onboarding questionnaire for a little bit, but that's just all part of the process. Alternatively, you can also, because one thing Financial Sense does not do, which I want everybody I want it to be clear, I love Financial Sense, like love Financial Sense. I am not a bookkeeper and accountant, and I told Sharam that I would use it for my OBM business because I love it so much. But the one thing that they do not do is forms, and that's okay because I'd rather, a master of one than a jack of all trades kind of thing. But you can use the client portal task list as onboarding questionnaire of sorts if you want. It just depends how clean and organized you want to keep your things, since you can't really download the client task portal. Like if you ask a question there, you can't really download it like a PDF, like you could like a job form or a type form or something like that, right? But either one of those options saves you time and sets the tone for sets the tone that your process is organized and you know what the hell you're doing. So this is the big one for me. Over deliver on information. I hate when I get an email and there's like 15 questions afterwards because they didn't provide me the information that I needed in that email. Over deliver on information. Why? Because expectations reduce questions. We're working smarter, not harder. So this is where you over deliver on that information. The idea is not to overwhelm the client, but do it in a, here's everything you need to know. I don't want you to feel like I'm ghosting you. I just want you to feel like you're prepared and you understand what's going on kind of way. So I don't know if I'll be the first to tell you this, but most people, again, not all, don't ask when they don't understand something when it comes to their bookkeeping or accounting because they're too worried to look dumb. So I always think it's best, especially in your industry, to anticipate their questions and their needs and answer them upfront. It's just one of the best ways to build trust, especially with new clients. For people that don't know you, if they're already like, wow, I thought that was a stupid question, but here she is, or here they are. They've answered that question in this email or this communication. by preemptively answering those questions, you make those clients already feel seen and supported. And we're all human. That's all we want, right? We want to feel seen and supported. Please stop. Oh, sorry, I'm going to go back. The next one is to keep everything in one place. So my best advice is to please stop chasing attachments through email. Use one place like Financial Sense. And I'm sure that that's like the best part about Financial Sense for a lot of people who use it, is that now I know I'm a diehard, like, nope, I won't accept this by email. Send it through Financial Sense. Use one place like Financial Sense. Use the automated reminders. Clients know what's due and when without you needing to babysit them. Let the system babysit them for you. That's what you pay for. So stop chasing documents. Stop sending manual emails. Use the system that's provided to you. Finally, welcome them aboard. This could be through a kickoff call, which you now have time for because you've used automation to onboard them, or you'll have time to send them, a cute little welcome gift, or maybe write them a short note. I know I can't write in cursive anymore, but you could write them a cute little handwritten note, or maybe even send them like a quick little Loom video. That's the type of stuff that humanizes the process and lets them know they're in good hands, supported and seen. Because like I said, we're all human after all, right? So to support this, you don't need a fancy tech stack, just structure, clarity, and tools that actually make your workflow repeatable. So I know firsthand how overwhelming it can be to choose tech for your business. You've already made a great step. You've picked Financial Sense to be your core command center. I'm constantly learning, testing new options, and it honestly feels like I said before, a new software is being born every second. But the goal isn't to collect tools, it's to connect the right ones so your systems actually work for you. Okay. Like I said, Financial Sense is your command center. This is where everything lives. Obviously, we're using Financial Sense. We put everything in Financial Sense, Financial Sense, Financial Sense. This is where clients, projects, tasks, notes, details, everything lives. Communication, if you can, why not? Put it all where you can put it, right? Then find a document storage that you'll use. Listen, the reality is shit happens, and it's always better to be safe than sorry. You can absolutely use Financial Sense to organize the client documents and everything that you receive, but I would never suggest not having a backup. I'm not a tech expert. I'm not a security expert, but for me, that means something like Google or OneDrive. Okay, so every file, folder, and shared document should have a home in a separate place, safe and secure, separate place. In the event that something happens to your command center, please, Financial Sense, don't let anything happen to our command center. But stuff happens, so it's just better to be safe than sorry. It also helps keep things consistent and eliminates the where did we send that hunt through your inbox, right? If it comes in, it's downloaded, and it is put into the OneDrive or Google Drive, whatever. That way, if you have, say, an admin, the admin does that, and then you know for sure that you can find it in your Boom OneDrive, Boom Google Drive, whatever you choose. The last thing is automation tools. So again, like I said, these tools are coming out a mile a minute. The one that is the most common will be Zapier. These tools are the connectors. They make sure the data flows automatically between systems, so your team isn't constantly retyping or chasing small admin tasks. We're already peppered with distractions all day long. Emails, Slack pings, team pings, notifications. So it helps when everything that actually needs to get done lives in one place, right? The fewer tabs open, the better your system runs. So it's nice if you can have things work in other softwares, like, for example, Typeform, Jotform, Cognitoform, and not have to open it, to download it, to do all these things. You can use the automation tools to do that for you. Like I said, one thing I didn't mention that's really important would be to find a form builder that you really like, just to make sure that all the integrations work with Financial Sense, if Financial Sense is your command center. Allowing the automation tools to grab that important information from the forms and plop that right into Financial Sense for you is chef's kiss. Okay, which leads me to the next step. Let's look at what actually happens when these systems work together and how one action can trigger multiple steps automatically and save you a ton of manual work. So like I said here, once a client fills out your onboarding form, whatever way that would look like, that should be your starting point of your automation. From there, your form submission can automatically create a client profile in Financial Sense. From there, it can automatically create a project. So an onboarding project for personal tax or like whatever onboarding project you have, based on what they answered in your onboarding form. For example, if it's a bookkeeping onboarding form and they're like, hey, we have a cleanup job. Okay, well, if they mark that yes, they have 2 years, that they're not updated for 2 years, or why is my brain not working? They need a cleanup bookkeeping job is what I'm getting at. That can trigger Zapier to create for that profile a cleanup project that you've already created. Okay. From there, you can then, from that submission, like I said, it can grab all that information and plop it right into Financial Sense, and you shouldn't be retyping client information into multiple systems. So if you have a backup Excel sheet or whatever the case may be, it can grab that and pop it into there. A well-built automation does the setup for you every single time without error or forgotten steps. Okay. So the goal isn't to replace you. I mean, that would be great, but it's to remove the repetitive admin tasks that pull you out of meaningful work. The system, like Financial Sense, sends reminders, organized tasks, and keeps things moving in the background so you can focus on actual client work. And when your workflows run this smoothly, your communication becomes clear and predictable. So most clients don't want daily check-ins throughout your onboarding, right? You don't want to be like, hey, get me that thing. Hey, get me that thing. Hey, get me that thing. They just want to know what's happening and when and if you got everything you need from them. Another important thing is deadlines. If we don't hear from you within 30 days and you've ghosted us, we're marking your profile as inactive. That's it. A clear, predictable process keeps them confident without you having to hover. So tell them what you need from them and why you need it. Because remember, clients don't know what they don't know. So if you're asking for a SIN, if you're asking for a date of birth, if you're asking for whatever, tell them that you need this from the get-go, and also tell them why you need it. Because I need to check if you've added us to your CRA account. We need your date of birth for your personal tax, whatever it may be. When proper communication is baked into your workflow, like automatic check-ins, progress updates, reminders, sharing important information, sharing details about your process, clients stop chasing you for answers, or the let me know what else you need from me emails finally stop getting into your inbox. When clients don't know what's going on, they start to assume the worst or question themselves, or worse, you. And transparency doesn't mean that you need to send constant updates. It just means keeping them in the loop. So that can even mean something as simple as, here's what happens after you do X. So here's what happens after you sign the engagement letter. We'll get started on your bookkeeping this date, okay? When clients understand your process and know what to expect and see you following through with it, trust grows naturally. Like I said, and I'll say this a million times, clients don't know what they don't know. That's why they hired you, because they don't know how to do, I imagine, their accounting or their bookkeeping. So they just want you to tell them how to do it. And that is kind of black or white, right? Once you have it into your system, it's there every single time. Your firm communication shouldn't rely on memory. It should be predictable. You're already handling a lot of things. So all kinds of you're already handling a lot of things, all kinds of tasks. You're wearing all the hats and you're managing other people and other businesses. It's a lot. So it should be part of the system that you set up. That's what keeps it consistent no matter who's handling the client, so no one gets ghosted. And once your workflow feels calm and predictable, you can then bring in warmth and personality and whatever human touches that remind clients that they're working with real people and not just a process, and they're not just another cog in the wheel. Like I said, listen, this is a hill I will die on. I know automation can feel gross and disconnected, but only if you let it. Okay, I know there's kind of this controversy about how people feel about automation, automating everything. In my opinion, when it's used well, it's actually the opposite. In a world where technology is everywhere, automation gives you the breathing room to actually stop, and slow down and be present with your clients, if that's what you want. I know that's a hot topic, okay? Because it takes care of the repetitive, predictable stuff, so your time can go toward the parts that really need your attention. When your workflows are automated and your systems are doing all of the heavy lifting, you finally have time and energy to do the meaningful work, build relationships, and more importantly, not burn out. You have time for yourself. That's when you can send, that's also when you can send, like I said, the cute things like handwritten notes or jump on a call or send the personal Loom videos, because you're not buried under any of those administrative tasks anymore. Listen, if you just spent 10 days chasing 3 of your new onboards for all of their documents, then you didn't have time to finish those 2 month ends or that personal tax catch-up project that's probably sitting on your desk, right? So of course, the last thing you want to do is jump on another call to attempt to build a relationship with a new client. You're already tapped out. I totally get that. You're human too. You didn't start this business to spend all of your time working. You want to have time for yourself as well. I totally get it. And what I'm trying to say here is that automating projects helps you not burn out. It can create the space for real human connection instead of just putting everything through the motion, which I think is what most people fear. So what does this actually look like for your firm once those automations start carrying the weight for you? That could look like a lot of things, okay? I just want to start here with having you write something down, or you can write it in the chat. I just want to know one task in your onboarding process that's repetitive, that's easy to forget, and doesn't require your judgment or input. So like the one thing that you don't want to deal with the most. So this could be something like sending a reminder email, creating folders, assigning tasks, like what's the most annoying thing, updating a client status, the thing that keeps your system moving, but that you don't need to think deeply about. If it's something that you do the same way every single time, that's going to be your first automation candidate, okay? Okay, I'm seeing some good ones. Sending client onboard questionnaire, that's an easy one. Collecting documents, yep. Folders, 100%. Access, yeah, 100%. So whatever you wrote down there, that one small improvement, the thing you just wrote down, that's where your system begins. So it's not just about overhauling everything overnight. It's about now you're going to build out that process, but it's about finding the first step that makes your workload lighter and more repeatable. I'm seeing so many more comments here. I totally get it. My best piece of advice, and I know this is going to be hard, is just start. Just start building something out. You're going to be baffled at how quickly things snowball, okay? So all this to say, when clients see the same structure, the same steps, and the same reliability every single time, they can relax, which, spoiler alert, means you get to relax. In my opinion, consistency communicates professionalism better than any polished proposal ever could. Try to say that 5 times fast, okay? Again, whether we want to admit it or not, we're all human, and consistency falls apart when we're busy, right? And as small business owners, I know we're all busy. So automation keeps your standards steady even when your capacity always isn't. It makes sure your processes works the way it's supposed to, whether it's your first client of the year or your 100th. And when clients trust you in the long run, communication becomes easier, deadlines get smoother because they know what the heck you want from them, and you spend less time chasing and more time completing the work or advising, if that's your thing. So now that you've identified your first improvement and where you want to start with the improvement, and you saw the principles behind it, let's talk next steps and how to actually start putting this into action for your firm, okay? So you can absolutely build your onboarding system yourself easily with Financial Sense. Like I said, Financial Sense is so great. You can go the DIY route, and I would recommend you getting started just so that you have something to build on right now, okay? Financial Sense has amazing resources. They also have a great YouTube channel with a ton of great setup ideas and a full template library, which gives you a ton of starting points. Like I said, my advice is don't overthink it. Pick a few templates, take the pieces that make sense for you and mix them together. It's about making them fit your firm, not building the perfect system yet. Either way, the goal is the same. Get your process out of your head into a system that runs smoothly every single time, okay? If you'd rather not go at it alone, that's what I do. So there's a link in my client application form on my website. I think that there's a link somewhere on here that you can click and send an application, and I can get back to you and we can discuss how we can work that out and find what version of simple and repeatable looks like for your firm. Okay, so let's open it up to some questions here quickly. I'm just going to double check that we have some time. I'm really sorry. I am typically a fast talker and I thought I was going to zoom through that. So I'm just going to quickly go to the Q&A. Do you have templates or suggestions for initial client questionnaire? Honestly, my biggest advice for that is, and I don't know if everybody uses ChatGPT and whatever the way that I do, go onto ChatGPT and literally ask it to start building you out a questionnaire and keep asking it, what am I missing? What am I missing? What am I missing? That's the best way to do it, in my opinion. That way you're going to get like a full on built out questionnaire. And again, the first questionnaire you're going to build is not going to be your forever questionnaire. So you're going to want to continue building out on it. Also, I don't know how complex your firm is, but you're going to probably want different questionnaires for every type of client. There's a lot of ways that you can do like dependencies and stuff like that within form builders, but in my opinion, it's a lot easier to just have separate ones that keep the information separate. What are some automations you can suggest to get new clients into FC? What are some automations you can suggest to get new clients into FC? I have to get back to that one because I'm not sure what you mean. I just started my own practice coming from corporate accounting. I find the idea of onboarding overwhelming as I haven't done it before. What do you recommend if you're starting from step 0? Just start. If I was you, and I understand if you didn't do any of the onboarding for your firm, then what you're going to want to do is, if you've onboarded a client, write down what that looked like. Like I said, pop it into ChatGPT and say, finesse this or build this out or clarify this. Make this as clear as possible for clients. How do I ask this question? Grab that and pop it into a form builder, like I said, or you can pop it into the client task section in Financial Sense if you need. How to automate for contractor type clients who are not tech savvy or not focused, integration, online or email requests. I don't know how to say this any other way, Maria, but the internet is free, and I find it difficult to believe that clients, I understand clients have a hard time using it, but the digital world is here. So they're going to have to learn how to use it. And if that's the way that you use it in your firm, that's the way that they're going to have to learn to use it in order to work with you, if that makes sense. As a new practice, my onboarding is currently getting a checklist filled by asking questions via email text. No. Is there a secure way to send an intake document that doesn't cost half of what I'm charging? I'm interested to know why it's costing you to send an intake document, but I believe, and again, I'm not a security expert, etc., but I do believe that you are able to send information through something like Jotform or Cognitoform. Just double check the security measures that some of these software uses. I only have a minute here, so I just want to say thank you so much for everybody reaching out. I love these questions. I wish I could answer all of them. This is where I really nerd out. I really hope that you guys learned something from my workshop. And yeah, I really appreciate everyone being here. Thanks. I'm hoping that I'll be able to tone the redness down shortly. Thanks, everyone. I hope you guys have a great day.